Awesome. Good evening. My name is Nancy Target. I'm an instructor and research specialist at the Miller branch. Thank you for joining us today for week 4 of our 6-week series, Way to Go, in partnership with Giant Food and Howard County Health Department. Our discussion tonight is led by weight management expert Melanie Burdick. Melanie is a registered dietitian, licensed dietitian nutritionist, certified diabetes care and education specialist, certified specialist in obesity and weight management, and a certified personal trainer. Wow. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Dietetics from Eastern Michigan University and a Master of Science in Applied Nutrition from the University of New England. She believes in practical steps to improving health and wellness where no foods are off limits. She is here with us tonight to help us make 2022 our best year yet. Welcome, Melanie.
Awesome. Thanks, Nancy. Hi, everyone. It's good to see some familiar names back with us this week. So happy Valentine's Day. I'm glad you're spending part of it with us. And so tonight we are going to focus on mindful eating, as it's hard to believe we're already to week 4. So let's hop in and we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we've covered in the last few classes. So of course, last week we did our virtual store tour. And so I hope that was helpful during your next shopping trip. Hopefully that gave you some tips and tricks for shopping for better health. And then of course, we talked about meal planning and then goal setting as well. So let me know in the chat if you've been focusing on some new goals or health and wellness achievements for 2022. Let me know, how are those going in the chat? You know, whether it's a big or a small goal, it really can make a huge difference. So let me know, how are things going? I love to hear people's progress. And even if it's not going exactly how you planned, that's okay. Never hurts to reevaluate and modify. So let us know in the chat. I'd love to hear from you guys. All right. So for this week, we're really going to focus on mindfulness. All right. Okay. Oh, actually, this is a good question. We can talk about some suggestions as we go through the presentation today about having a sweet tooth. Absolutely. We can talk about that. So tonight for mindfulness, it's really just an opportunity to think about our eating habits and where, when, and why we eat and how we eat. And this can be a really great topic to discuss, because just taking a few moments to reflect on how we eat can really make a difference in our health and wellness. So hopefully after today, you'll have some good insight on maybe some of your eating habits, and maybe there's some things that you might think of changing or modifying. So we'll get started. So really for tonight, we'll talk about mindful versus mindless eating. And really, what's the difference? And how do we sort through these different behaviors? And then we'll also touch on briefly about restrictive eating. This can often come about maybe if we overdo it, then we try to restrict ourselves. And we often know that this doesn't last very long. And this can really cause this yo-yo effect in our eating patterns. And then, of course, we'll talk about some tips for shopping more mindfully, and then some other factors that impact your eating routine. So what is mindful eating? So we're really all born as mindful eaters. So we have this cute little nugget here on the screen. And so when we're born, we really focus on our eating. We know our hunger cues and our satiety cues, and we're very present and in the eating process. So really being mindful, in a nutshell, is really just focusing on the task at hand, putting all distractions aside, and really focusing on your foods. And so we're born as mindful eaters, and oftentimes, we can start to lose this behavior as we get older. So we'll talk more about that. So when we're mindful, again, we can enjoy any of our favorite foods. It's just really stopping and savoring and satisfying them. And by doing that, we really can appreciate it, and we'll also eat less at the same time. So let's talk about the research behind mindful eating. So when I am focused, I am present in my eating routine, I am more likely to have a lower calorie intake because I'm very focused, I'm slowing down. And when I'm mindful, it really has been shown to empower people to purchase things that are in their best interest. When we're thinking about our foods and really being thoughtful, are we going to go for a hamburger or a salad or vegetables? Oftentimes, we're going to lean toward those items that are going to give us lots of nutrients and give us energy and give back. Now, we also know that when we are present in our eating and we're really focused and we allow ourselves to have those wonderful treats like chocolate or ice cream, but we slow down and savor them, it's been found that people also have lower food cravings. And also, too, people feel more in control of their behaviors. So they know that ice cream is going to be available. They know they're going to be able to enjoy it. And they're less likely to have that feeling of being out of control or going overboard. And so that's one of the positives that come with mindful eating. Nothing is off limits. We just have that better relationship with food. So I always laugh at this image. Any one of us, have we ever been caught in the kitchen eating late at night, or maybe, standing at the kitchen counter eating, or staring into that deep abyss of the refrigerator? Yes, it's happened to all of us. And I think also more so, we've been hearing more about mindless eating during COVID. We've been home more often. We've been bored. Really food has been a form of entertainment for many of us. And so, we might be hunkering down at the end of the day. We might have a snack in front of the TV, and we really don't pay attention to how much we're eating. So, if I'm sneaking down in the middle of the night and rummaging through my freezer looking for the ice cream, I'm probably not going to be paying close attention to how much I eat. So really, this can really throw us for a loop. This can impact our health, our weight, our glucose levels, lots of different things in our life. So there's also a very interesting theory. It's called the self-determination theory. And really what it states is that humans, we want the best for ourselves. We know that what's good and nourishing to our bodies. And we know that there are good choices and not so good choices. But oftentimes our social environment, the people we're around, maybe we smell something enticing, really throws us off our goals and what we should have. So we mean very well, but there's a lot of things in life that kind of can interfere with some of those goals. So that's one thing to think about, is that we have so many things in life that can kind of throw us off, maybe a commercial or a smell as you're walking through the mall that can make us want to have some of those tasty foods. Now, at the same time, I mentioned earlier, restrictive eating. And so right when we started the program in January, when we start off the new year, oftentimes, maybe the holidays, we go a little berserk. We might go overboard. We might have treats and sweets and cake and cookies at the Christmas and New Year's. And then people say, oh, I went overboard. I really need to get back on the straight and narrow. And then we go into this very restrictive eating pattern. Now, there are lots of diets out there as well that follow, very similar patterns of maybe restricting a food group or a type of food. Now, anytime we restrict something, we restrict calories, yeah, we're going to have some weight loss. But normally this type of restriction isn't realistic long-term, or people get exhausted or they feel deprived. And so we have some weight loss, but then it can often return. And so when we think about taking things away, it's not really a healthy meal pattern. It's not really building a healthy relationship with food. It's really just limiting us, the things that we enjoy. So restrictive eating is really one end of the spectrum. Now, when we think about restrictive eating, we kind of go back and forth here in this pendulum. And I'm sure this is something that maybe many of us can, relate to. Maybe we went a little overboard at the holidays, and maybe went to a doctor's appointment and we weren't really happy with what we saw on the scale, right? So then we might say, okay, I need to really get on the straight and narrow, and we're going to cut back. And then we might have some success short term. But then old habits die hard. We start to go back to these old eating habits. And then we start to have that weight fluctuation again. And we know that that's very stressful as well. So really, when we think about restrictive eating, yeah, it works, but it doesn't last forever. And we really want to move away from this all or nothing approach or a thought process. Really, nothing is bad. all foods can fit, and we don't have to worry about fearing particular foods or, demonizing particular foods. What we want to do is kind of avoid these two extremes on the pendulum and really start to focus on our body's needs and our level of hunger and satiety. And we can truly enjoy anything as long as we slow down and really think about those cues. We can really have a better relationship with food. All right. So let's talk about mindful eaters. So that cute little baby that I showed earlier, that was cute little mindful eater, has now grown up. And so there are a lot of things in life that can really impact our eating habits. But once we become very focused on being mindful or present in our eating, we can make choices and not feel guilty, confused, and then limit our self-control. So sometimes, life, we might learn new behaviors, but we can always learn newer ones that are better for us. And so once we get in control of our eating, and we can still enjoy things like cookies or cake, but we slow down and savor it, we can feel more confident about eating those items. So this is definitely something that, as we work with and kind of building a new relationship with food can really help us. Now, at the same time, we talked about shopping last week, and think about who does the shopping in your household. Anyone here, the primary shopper? Let me know. Are you the one that's going to the store, or maybe making the menus, or maybe you're making the list and you're sending someone to the store? So a lot of us, depending on our household, we all have that nutritional gatekeeper. All right, so Nancy, you're the primary shopper. So the person that spends the most time shopping or walking the aisles in a store. All right, Sandra, you make the list. Perfect. You're pretty much the ruler of the food choices, so to speak. And so that nutritional gatekeeper is really the person that is choosing the foods that your family is going to have on their plate. And this could be a variety of different foods. This could be nutritious. This could also be snack foods. And so that gatekeeper, any type of relationship that gatekeeper has, can easily be passed to people in your family. So if you're a gatekeeper and maybe your relationship with food isn't the best, maybe you've had some of those extremes of restrictive and, going overboard with your eating. Sometimes those behaviors or those food choices can, travel to your other family members. But at the same time, if we're a nutritional gatekeeper that's very present and very focused and very aware of food choices and behaviors, we can really steer our family to better choices. So that nutritional gatekeeper really is that one that's going to be finding those foods that are nutritious, but also enjoyable. And if you make that list, then you know exactly what you're picking up, and that can help minimize those frivolous purchases that can often happen, in those particular aisles as well too. So think about that gatekeeper and really their relationship with food. Now, of course, I mentioned last week as well, when we're looking at different products, of course, we want to be mindful and using our nutrition program, Guiding Stars, as well as those nutrition facts labels, really put things in perspective. Instead of eating out of a package, if we measure a product out, we are more aware of how much we're eating. It's a human tendency. We are very good at underestimating our food calories and overestimating our exercise. Not a very good combination, right? So really, when it comes to being mindful, it's really picking things and looking at the fat, the saturated fat, the sodium, carbohydrates, the fiber. Maybe it's picking that better cereal for your children so they can have a more filling morning and do better in school. So looking at the labels can really help guide you. There's lots of options, but again, if we're filling our cart with better for you things, it's going to make a huge difference for your family. Absolutely, that's a good question. So we had a question that came into the chat. If total sugar is higher than dietary fiber, is that okay? Well, yeah, well, depending. Let's take a closer look. So let's take a look here. So this item has 220 calories in a serving. and that serving's 1 cup. So this item has 6 grams of fiber, which is great. And if we have the whole package, 12 grams. And so actually, like, this product is pretty high in fiber. So it's giving us, if we eat the whole package, almost half of our daily needs. Now down here, we've got added sugar. So this item has 4 grams, which is about a teaspoon. And this one has about 8 grams for the whole package. So if the sugar, and actually there's a couple ways that you could do this. We always want to make sure that we're getting plenty of dietary fiber and less sugar overall. So that's one rule that you could do. Sandra, if you're shopping and you see, this product has 20 grams of added sugar and 1 gram of fiber, that might not be the best choice. So what you can also do is look on the right-hand column here and look at that percentage of the daily value. So here, this product provides us 43% of our daily fiber. This item with the added sugar provides us 16. So yeah, that's something that you can look for. When we have things that are more fibrous with less sugar, they're going to do a body good for us. Now, of course, I mentioned last week, our Guiding Stars program, which is a great way to help people find better for you choices. So, even if you're navigating the aisles and maybe you're still focusing on learning the nutrition labels and sorting out the information, you can use this program as well. Look for those items that have 1, 2, or 3 guiding stars on that shelf tag. And then that can help you just fill your cart with more nutritious items. Again, if you're standing in the cereal aisle and you're trying to find that option for your children, well, let's pick up 2. One has 1 star, one has 3 stars. All right, well, could we opt for that 3-star product that's more nutritious? So really helpful tools. Now, any last questions about the nutrition label before we move on? Because I know this can be a tricky area, but Sandra, that was a great question. And also too, I just wanted to follow up as well with that total sugar. So here, what we want to look at is, so this item here has 2 teaspoons or 8 grams of added sugar, but then it also has some natural sugar in it as well. So this might be something like yogurt. So yeah, when we see that total here, we've got 14 grams of sugar, and then we've got, if you compare that to the 12 grams. So really what we want to look at are products that have less of that added sugar. But depending on that natural content, that might vary in that total amount. All right, so we'll press on. So when we're thinking about mindful food choices, we talked a lot last week about things to look for in each of the sections of the store. And so one thing that can be really helpful is finding items that are nutritionally dense, actually, more bang for your buck, so to speak, nutritionally. And so when we think about making, food choices, we want to find things that are tasty, satisfying, and enjoyable, but also nutritious at the same time. So things that can be really helpful, looking at the different types of produce in your day, the little mini sweet peppers. These are great if you're looking for something fun or different, and you can easily count out the number that you have. So that's good portion control. And then also too, like with our fruit, sometimes people like to have something to do with their hands. So if they have something they have to peel, it makes them a little bit more mindful about how much they're consuming. So that can be a way to slow people down. The same thing if you love to have nuts. Many people like to choose pistachios because it slows them down. They have to break that shell. So they're more aware. They can see those shells building up, and they're more aware of how much they've eaten. Now, other things too, when we think about mindful purchases, really, multiple benefits. So things like beans, fiber, protein, complex carbohydrates, a perfect choice and pretty yummy. And then also too, I mentioned our Kodiak cakes last week, but these are wonderful. They're nutritious and quite tasty. So again, lots of things that you can utilize where you have that wonderful balance of nutrients, but also enjoyable. Now, let's talk about some of our favorite treats. So there are lots of yummy things in the store. And of course, we know that there's going to be goodies. We're going to have events. Last night was the Super Bowl. Today is Valentine's Day, so there might be some chocolate. But really, we can still enjoy these items, but find things that give us a little bit more nutrients. So for instance, we'll talk about last night. So I'm sure a lot of us had chips for the Super Bowl. But here we have the late July, and these items are made with chia seeds and quinoa. So they're a great way to have that tortilla crunch, but a way to boost fiber and protein. So if I were enjoying some guacamole or salsa, I could add these as a swap to my usual chip, just get a little bit more bang for my buck. Also, other things, when we talk about being mindful, often these treats we can eat quite a bit. So if we can make that swap for something that instead of ice cream, maybe it's a fudge bar, Enlightened or Yasso are two varieties that are great options for ice cream lovers. You get the chocolatey goodness, but you get that portion size. And so that can be a good compromise for people. Also, the same thing with like our frozen fruit bars. If you like something sweet, this can be a nice item, especially in the summertime. And then also too, something kind of fun, a little bit different, dark chocolate hummus. Now, I know it sounds interesting, chickpeas with hummus or chickpeas with chocolate, but this is a great way where you get that chocolatey flavor and some nutritional benefit with that fiber from the beans. So this is a great item you could enjoy tonight for Valentine's Day, chocolate, hummus, and strawberries. And then of course too, there's going to be some fun things here like sweet potato and brown sugar chips. Of course, this is going to be a treat. But if we decide to have these, we just want to make sure that we measure them out as well. Oh yeah, you could pair chocolate hummus with fruit, graham crackers. Those would be great options. It's very, very tasty. So many people aren't very sure, but I trust me, it's very, very tasty. They also have a vanilla flavor as well too. So if you have maybe like a cut fruit platter, a chocolate hummus is a great little addition. Now, also there are also some other products too that are enjoyable, can help us get a taste of something we enjoy, but we're just a little bit more aware of what we're consuming. So for instance, we might want to have something relaxing. So here we have shaka tea, which is something that's very flavorful and just gives people a break and something new to try. Also, if we like, maybe an alcoholic beverage, well, we have White Claw, it's the hard seltzer. So it's another version of an alcoholic beverage, but with less calories, and gives you a little bit of that fizz too. And then also when we think about being mindful, really just taking a step back and enjoying things. So if you love chocolate, well, maybe it's picking up some hot chocolate and having that on an evening and savoring it. You really start to appreciate the flavors. Or if you're a coffee fan, you can try out different varieties. Here we have the Lo Colombe variety, which, it's a great way to taste the different flavors. And really, it's an opportunity to kind of slow down and just take a break as well and be mindful. Now, of course, we have to talk about my plate. So really, when we're thinking about our meals, we talked about meal planning, we talked about shopping, goal setting. We really want to make sure that my plate is really the center of our food choices and how we're choosing our foods. So again, when we're mindful, this can be a lot of different things. This could be slowing down when you're eating, but also making sure that you get the right food groups with meals. So again, filling up half of your plate with produce, making a quarter of your plate grains, ideally those complex whole grains. And then of course, you've got that last quarter, a protein source, whether it's plant-based, animal-based, or a dairy product. Now, let's talk about some of those things that we might throw us off when we're eating our different foods. Now, we want to look at all of our internal and external factors. There are a lot of things that can impact where, when, and how we eat. So first off, what we want to do is really see your food. We want to slow down, kind of look at all the things on your plate, acknowledge what you have, and be mindful about that serving size. And then also when we're planning our meal, what we use as a serving platter or as a bowl or a plate can really help us be successful. So if I use a smaller plate, maybe instead of a large 12-inch plate, I use an 8-inch or 9-inch salad plate, I'm more than likely going to eat less. I'm going to feel like I'm getting a lot on my plate, but I'm taking in less calories. Now, also, too, the shape of our glasses. If we use tall, skinny glasses, we're less likely to have as many liquid calories than if we were to have short, wide glasses. So, lots of things that can really make a difference for our eating success. Also, where you plate your food can make a big difference. Do you love to plate your food in the kitchen at the stove and then come in and sit at the dining room table? Or do you like to eat family style? Do you like to put everything you have into a dish and bring it on the table? If we eat family style, we're actually going to be more apt to eating more because we've got that food staring back at us. So think about the different ways that you plate your meals. And then also, one thing we want to do is really try to be focused. And I know this can be a challenge. We've got a lot of gadgets and goodies out there that can really take our attention. So when you're thinking about eating, make it hard to be mindless. Turn off the television, put your cell phone away. Don't do any reading of the newspaper. Really just try to be, focus on what you're doing at that task at hand. And think about now, how often are you eating and maybe watching television or reading your phone? It's actually quite common. So think about ways that you can unplug when it comes to your meals. Now, also another approach to being mindful is really savoring. Ooh, what did I do? Oh, I stopped the share. Let's start this again. There we go. I made a boo-boo. So another thing we want to think about are those internal factors, how we eat, what your food smells like. So I challenge everyone, think about how fast you ate a meal today. Was it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes? And see if you can slow down the pace of your eating and extend your meal time. So ideally, we want to make sure that we eat slow because it takes time for our brain and our gut to connect. So if we're eating slow, we're at the dinner table for 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to notice that satiety kind of set in. Versus if we eat really quickly, go back for seconds, and then we finish eating in about 20 minutes, and then maybe about 30 to 40 minutes later, you really start to feel stuffed. So really try to think about slowing down that pace. Also, another motto you can think of is, the banquet's in the first bite. Really, when we think about the delectable taste of an item, that first bite is going to be amazing. And then it's slowly going to decrease in satisfaction from there. So really just focus on those first bites of each of the items at your meal and really savor those. And then also think about the components of your meal. Oftentimes we cook, we put it on the table, and then we're done. But use your senses, touch, see, smell, taste, hear. Really think about the spices and the flavors that have been added to the dish, the consistency, the texture. And when we slow down and really chew more frequently or have chew for a longer period of time, we're going to notice different things about our food. Often we miss those when we eat very quickly. All right, now one of the areas that I think is really, really helpful, and I love to talk about because this is helpful for everyone, is really understanding the level of hunger and the type of hunger that you're having. So we have physical and we have emotional hunger. And, a lot of us, we can experience both of these over the course of the day. But what is the difference? So physical hunger is when your stomach is growling and it's been several hours before you've eaten, and you're really starting to notice maybe my blood sugar is going a little low, I'm getting a little grumpy, just not in a good mood. It's time to eat. I need to refuel. Versus emotional or head hunger is when your hunger happens like from the neck up. So maybe you're feeling stressed, or maybe you're bored, or maybe you're upset. And to help cope with those emotions, we turn to food and we start eating. And so what we want to do is really listen to our body's hunger level and assess where we're at. And so I give you all another challenge. Think about your eating style and how you feel before you go to a meal. So, for instance, maybe you had breakfast at 8 o'clock this morning and you were feeling pretty good, and it's getting closer to lunchtime, and maybe it's 11 o'clock, and maybe you're starting to feel a little bit hungry. So, what you can do is kind of use the hunger scale. Say, where am I at here? Am I starving? Am I getting a little irritable? Am I kind of hungry? Is my stomach growling? And you can use this to sort of assess, do I need to eat something? Well, maybe if I'm feeling pretty hungry after my breakfast, maybe I need to have my morning snack a little bit earlier to help to prevent from getting too hungry. And at the same time, think about maybe you just had lunch and you're pretty full, and maybe your friend or family member says, hey, I have some dessert. Do you want some? And you can say, oh, where am I? Am I a 7? Am I an 8? If I eat that, am I going to feel like a 9? And so this can be a really good way to just sort of halt and kind of stop. And so that's another acronym that I encourage people to think about when they want to eat. Think halt. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Oftentimes, these can be the triggers for a lot of those different emotional drivers to eat. So just taking that pause and sort of doing a little bit of self-talk, you can say, well, yeah, I guess I'm just kind of bored. I'm really not hungry, but I'm just need something to do. And just sort of acknowledging it, then you can say, okay, well, what am I going to do now that's going to help my boredom, but not be, a driver to eat? And of course, as I've mentioned frequently, eating at home. Oh, thank you for adding that into the chat. Perfect. So one other thing that we can think about is the more often we can cook at home, the more we know about our food. We know the salt, we know the sodium, we know the fat, we know the ingredients. We can make those substitutions in our recipes. We can also choose our portion size, and we can choose how we're going to prepare it, how we're going to serve it. And so this is a great time where you can really become in tune with some of your favorite foods or recipes and think, oh, wow, when I make this recipe, it serves, X number of people if I use this serving. So really, cooking at home makes you aware of, how much we can overeat, and really also how much you can stretch your meals too if you watch your portion control. So this is a great way to experiment, try new things. Of course, I love our Savory magazine. I have it right here from December. And this is a great way you can find new recipes that are fun and enjoyable, but also can help you meet your health goals. And then also too, when we talked about meal planning a few weeks ago, use those items that you love. Maybe it's a favorite blog or cooking website or an app, or maybe it's just a cookbook. Maybe if you're bored, you can say, instead of eating, I'm just going to flip through a cookbook and see if I can find something for dinner tonight. And there's lots of ways to get that inspiration. And so this is something that I always find interesting. So we make over 200 decisions a day related to food. So that's a lot. Well, let's take that in for a second. That is a lot of decisions. But if you think about it, a lot of our day is, okay, I'm going to get up. Oh, I got to have my coffee. Oh, I got to put my creamer in. Do I want to put any sweetener? What's for breakfast? What am I going to do for lunch? What do the kids need for their lunch bags? What do we need for dinner? What time is lunch? There's so many things that surround food during our day. So we make a lot of decisions. And so when we think about making changes and moving from a mindless sort of eating style to a mindful one, it takes a lot of time. So it's not perfect, and that's okay. What we want to do is just get that awareness and insight to be aware of those triggers that drive us to eat when maybe we're not truly hungry. So that is something we want to give ourselves grace. It's not perfect and it's okay, but 200 decisions, that's a lot. I wonder what the second thing that we think about the most during the day is. I'm not sure. I'm sure it varies for each one of us, but that's a lot of decisions that we have to do related to food. So what I'd like to finish off with tonight is I love to throw out, different challenges, but I think these are good just for reflection about your eating style. So a little food for thought before we finish up for tonight. Really think about your relationship with food. Think about, how you eat, where, when, how, what, and how does it benefit you? Do you feel satisfied? Do you feel overly full? How is your relationship impacting your food choices? And of course, we have a wonderful podcast episode all about mindful eating. It's available on our website at giantfood.com. A really just insightful way to think about our behaviors. And I think once we become aware of tendencies, we can make a lot of adjustments and be successful with any health goals that we have in mind. So that's one of the great things too. It's by such a great topic. All right, well, I'm going to pause there in case we have any last questions. Again, you can always reach out to me. You can reach us at giantfood.com/nutrition. That's our website. But again, I'll put my email into the chat. If you have any questions, I am always happy to chat with anyone on anything that you need, that you have questions about. So my email's right in the chat. And then, of course, know that we have lots of different programs available every week online. So you can visit, you can take your phone and turn on your camera and you can scan right to this QR code and you can learn about our upcoming classes that we have. Right now, we're featuring Mediterranean Made Easy. So if you're into making some home cooked meals or looking for some different fun ways to jazz up your items, that's a great class. We're also featuring foods of the world that will also be available soon as well too. So you can learn about all those different food varieties from across the planet. And then, of course, feel free to join our Healthy Living by Giant Facebook group. Again, lots of ways to get great inspiration on all things healthy living, and you get to learn about our team. And then, of course, that Healthy Living by Giant podcast series, we are about to celebrate our 100th podcast, which is pretty amazing. And so this is, again, a great resource for all things healthy living. So I'm going to pause there. And actually, I know we had a question here earlier about having a sweet tooth. So hopefully after today, maybe if you have a sweet tooth, maybe thinking about where, when, why it happens when you want some sweets. And even if you decide to have something, maybe slowing down and really savoring that item will really help kind of build that level of satiety and help you be content with those items in your diet. I know the sweet tooth is hard. Let me know if there's anything in particular. Is it chocolate? Is it candy? Is it cake? Let me know. Now, also too, when we think about our sweet tooth, we want to make things a little bit more difficult for us. So, if they're readily available in our house, well, I know if I have goodies in my house, I'm going to be going back to that cupboard frequently. So if you love to have a treat, then have it, maybe go out, have an ice cream cone, or maybe you go out and share a slice of cake with a family member, or maybe you stop at a bakery and get a treat, and that way you can enjoy it. And that way you don't have extra amounts sitting at home. That can be an easy way and a healthy way. So that way you don't have extra in your home that can drive you to have more. So those are a couple of ways that you can, help with the sweet tooth. Also, too, sometimes just having some water or even chewing some gum, that can help kind of take that desire, make it a little less intense. All right, well, I'm going to pause. If you have any questions, please feel free to chime in. All right, no questions. I know it's Valentine's Day. You've got lots of fun things to do this evening. So I appreciate everyone's time and seeing everyone. It's great to see some familiar names. And I do believe, I want to make sure, Nancy, I think you put it into the chat that next week, yes, we will be taking next week, because it is a holiday, we won't be meeting, so we'll be back on February 28th and March 7th. So I hope to see you then.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for week 4 of our 6-week series, Way to Go, in partnership with Giant Food and the Howard County Health Department. Melanie will be back 2 weeks from today on February 28th for week 5. Thank you, Melanie, and thank you for helping make 2022 our best year ever. Good night,
Aw,
everybody.
thanks,
Have a
everyone.
wonderful evening.